So Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz is reportedly set to be ordered as a final eliminator for Tyson Fury's WBC World Heavyweight title. Now, I have my reservations about Wilder being in such close, basically touching distance of another fight for the WBC strap. But if he has to go through Andy Ruiz, that is at least earning the position to some extent. Because Andy Ruiz, of course, a former unified champion, beating the likes of Anthony Joshua, beat a mutual opponent of Deontay Wilder's in Luis Ortiz in his last fight. He's a tough guy. He's got fast hands. There's a lot of ability, Andy Ruiz. So if Wilder can dispatch of him, then again, it will make me feel a bit better about Wilder getting another shot. I do feel as though he should have to go for at least one more top contender, as well as Ruiz, if all things were fair. But of course, it's not a fair world. I'm not being idealistic here. I get it. And certainly boxing is not fair. Now, I seem to be in the minority of people, judging by the comments I've seen on my videos. I seem to be in the minority of people who don't think that Wilder Ruiz is a foregone conclusion. Because most people seem to think that it is. After watching what Wilder did to Hellenius, and by the way, if there are any people still, I mean, I shouldn't even really be addressing them. Because, if there are any people who still are trying to claim that Hellenius took a dive, I mean, give your head a wobble. Look at this video here on, I guess, the Coach Anthony YouTube channel, this short. Watch this video and try to tell me that's acting. Like, give it a rest, people. And there's an angle of the knockdown that you can watch in slow-mo where you see Robert Hellenius' right leg actually gets trapped under his body for a moment as he's going down. That's another telltale sign that it's a legit knockout when someone's leg gets trapped underneath their body like that. A guy as heavy as Hellenius, 250 plus pounds, going down that fast and his leg is underneath him, you can easily pop your knee doing that. And yet you're saying he's acting? No, if you were going to take a dive, you wouldn't have your knee trapped under you like that, where you could potentially pop your knee. No. Anyway, silly stuff. People are still coming out with claiming this was a dive by Hellenius. It wasn't. Hellenius is a bit chinny and Wilder is a tremendous puncher. So don't watch the fact that it wasn't the greatest of technique that Wilder threw the right hand with. Look at the impact of the shot. Hellenius' head snaps back when he gets hit and it lands with a big crack. So, yeah, Wilder a tremendous puncher. And because of this, a lot of people think that it's inevitable he's going to starch Andy Ruiz, that he's going to send him into another universe. Even Luis Ortiz has been saying this. He says he has no chance against Deontay Wilder. But of course, Luis Ortiz has an agenda when he says that. He wants the rematch with Andy Ruiz. He doesn't want Ruiz to go into the Deontay Wilder fight. That's, I guess, in Ortiz's mind, a more realistic fight for him and a more realistic payday. So I take what Luis Ortiz said with a pinch of salt. Now, I understand why people think that Deontay Wilder will beat Ruiz, because Ruiz is a shorter fighter. He's never been the most difficult to hit. And we've seen him get dropped by the likes of Anthony Joshua and Chris Arreola. But he is a much better fighter, a much better boxer than someone like Robert Hellenius. He's a better counterpuncher. He's smarter. He knows the positions that he gets himself into where he could get caught. And again, we saw him get caught against Luis Ortiz, but that's after he dropped Ortiz and he went in looking for the finish. And of course, he's going to need to watch out for that against Deontay Wilder. Because if he gets sloppy and overexcited, if he hurts Wilder and goes flying in, that's when he could get starched. That's when he could get dropped. But I saw some comments on the post-fight video I did for the Wilder Hellenius contest. And there were people, quite a few of them, saying, this shows how good a chin Tyson Fury has. Well, Tyson Fury has got fantastic powers of recovery. I mean, of all the heavyweights in the division right now who we've seen get hurt, none of them appear to recover as quickly as Tyson Fury does. However, I don't think Tyson Fury has an iron jaw or anything close to it. And I don't think he has anything close to the best chin in the division. In fact, I don't think Tyson Fury's got as good a chin as Andy Ruiz. If we check it, Tyson Fury was dropped by Nevin Pikage and Steve Cunningham. Do you think that Andy Ruiz would have been dropped by those guys? As in the Andy Ruiz we saw against Luis Ortiz, for example, when he's got his full strength. Because I concede, because of the weight loss over a short period and the vastly reduced calories when Ruiz was with Reynoso, he may not have been as strong as normal. And as I've said in the past, it takes a while to adjust to the reduced calories and so on. And it takes a while for your body to adjust to the tremendous hard work you've done to get your weight down. I think that if Ruiz had continued on that path, he would have eventually got his strength at a lower weight. But be that as it may, he had his old strength at whatever it was, close to 260 pounds against Luis Ortiz. And we saw that he was able to take Ortiz's best shots bang on the chin. Like, Ortiz couldn't have caught him cleaner. And Ruiz was able to walk through him. Now, he was wary. He didn't want to get caught with too many of them, but he was able to take him. There was no, point in the fight where it looked like Ruiz was going to go down. Do you think that Tyson Fury could have taken shots that flush from Luis Ortiz and not gone down? I don't. And as I say, I don't think that the shots that decked Fury from Pikage and Cunningham would have decked Andy Ruiz, a fully strong Andy Ruiz. I don't think so. So obviously where I'm going with this is, if Tyson Fury can take Deontay Wilder's shots and get off the canvas, I think Andy Ruiz has a good chance of taking some of Deontay Wilder's shots. I'm not saying Wilder can't drop him. I'm not saying Wilder can't knock him out. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I think people are overlooking the fact that Ruiz, in my view, actually has a better chin than Fury. And even when it comes to powers of recovery, didn't he recover real quick from that big left hook from AJ? It was actually an uppercut, wasn't it? Uppercut, right uppercut, left hook. He recovered real quick enough to put AJ on the canvas seconds later. So, yeah, I don't see this fight as the foregone conclusion other people do. I'll be very interested to see how Andy Ruiz approaches it, whether he's going to do his usual pressure fighting style, his pressure fighting tactics, or whether he'll revert to what we saw against Luis Ortiz. Now, I always felt that the main reason he fought the way he did against Ortiz is because Ortiz is a southpaw. And stylistically, he may have felt that a pressure fighting style doesn't line up well with Luis Ortiz. And, he'd done all those rounds in the gym with Charles Martin when they were both with Manny Robles. So, I would assume that against an orthodox fighter, he'll just go back to what he normally does. But maybe he felt as though because he was able to avoid a lot of Luis Ortiz's power shots by counterpunching him, right? Counterpunching the counterpuncher. Perhaps he'll take that mentality forward into the Deontay Wilder fight, especially in light of what Wilder did to Robert Helenius. Maybe he'll look at that and say, I'm not sure I want to walk forward against this guy. Maybe I want to be careful and pick my shots and try and catch him with counters just like I did with Ortiz. But as I said in the Ortiz fight and what have you, Andy Ruiz would be more effective boxing like that if he was lighter. But again, then we go down the whole rabbit hole and the round and round in circles talking about if he's lighter, can he take a good shot? It would take a prolonged period to get his weight down low enough to have the faster feet, but also retain the punch resistance. It would take maybe a year or so, and he'd have to have some fights. But, that's not going to happen anyway. We know Andy Ruiz likes the buffet table. So here's what he is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you, like me, not completely sold on this idea that Wilder wipes Andy Ruiz out? Do you actually think that this is competitive? Or are you one of those people who does think that it's a foregone conclusion? And also let me know what you think about the potential tactics that Andy Ruiz could employ here. Also, Deontay Wilder. I have to assume Wilder is going to fight in a similar way to what we saw against Hellenius, where he's going to look to go on the back foot. So if both guys are trying to go on the back foot, it might not be the most entertaining spectacle, right? Wilder, maybe because it's a shorter guy and a slow-footed guy, he'll let some more right hands go and be a little more aggressive. I don't know. But I'm sure him and his trainer Malik Scott are cognizant of the fact that Andy Ruiz is a very fast counterpuncher. This will be the best counterpuncher that Deontay Wilder has ever faced in a professional boxing ring by a mile. Tyson Fury's a tremendous fighter, but he's not the counterpuncher that Andy Ruiz is. I mean, who is really in the heavyweight division other than maybe Usyk? Yeah? Andy Ruiz's counters are lightning fast. And as we saw with Ortiz, they're accurate. So, going to be an interesting stylistic matchup. I look forward to it. And as far as it being the WBC final eliminator, I think it's nice for Andy Ruiz because, of course, he's never fought for the WBC title before. And for Deontay Wilder, okay, it's better than him just going straight into a title shot, which would be a fourth showdown with Fury at this stage. But ideally, I'd like to see him have to prove himself at least one more time against a Hrgovic or a Hunter, some top contender before getting another shot. Because we don't want to repeat, of course, of the Deontay Wilder years where he was freezing out so many contenders, where he wasn't doing unifications, where his team were basically milking that belt, giving Deontay Wilder subpar opposition and making out as though the other champions were running. We don't need a repeat of that nonsense. So if we're ever going to see Deontay Wilder actually have to prove himself, then it's got to be now when he doesn't have a belt. Yeah, that's when we as fans have the opportunity to see Deontay Wilder prove himself. And he's going to have to do it to some degree in this Andy Ruiz fight, which again, I'm not picking Ruiz necessarily, although we'll see how I feel closer to the fight. But I still think it's competitive. At the very least, I think this is a competitive fight, a very interesting fight. Let me know what you guys think. If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high-quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, is decentralized, and is 100% censorship-free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.